5, 6, 7, 8. It's a mess, sis. Oh, it's a mess, sis.
Hello, everybody, and
Oh, it's a
welcome
mess,
to the
sis.
podcast. It's a mess,
Oh, it's a
sis.
mess,
So, what
sis.
exactly is a mess? A
It's a
mess
mess,
is a
sis.
situation or a state of affairs
It's a
that is
mess, sis.
confused or full of difficulties.
It's a mess,
The
sis.
mess is when things don't go the
It's
way
a
you
mess,
plan.
sis.
It is when you have to go off script,
5,
improvise,
6,
ad
7,
lib,
8.
sit through the
It's a mess,
awkwardness,
sis.
and breathe through the pain until you
Oh, it's
come
a
out on
mess,
the other
sis.
side, because you will come out
It's a
on the
mess,
other
sis.
side. It is everything that makes life
It's a mess, sis.
interesting and transformative. It is what
It's
we
a
are here
mess,
to do.
sis.
It is how we learn how
It's
to
a mess,
be.
sis.
So, join us as we
It's a
dive
mess,
into
sis.
this week's mess.
It's a mess, sis. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. It's a mess, sis. I'm Jessica, and I am certainly a mess, but I'm working every day to discover who I am underneath that mess. I am co-host on this, my favorite podcast. I'm a writer, a singer, and I'm doing it all while living in LA and figuring shit out. I've had plenty of strategies about how things would go, but my life had other plans. So I'm wading through this mess with y'all, one thought provoking topic at a time.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Rena. I am your other host, obviously. I am a social worker from the DMV. I am a writer, wannabe trap poet, wordsmith, whatever you want to call it. I'm also an avid sneakerhead, film buff, music junkie, photographer, and overall content creator. I've been on this whole self development journey for a few years now, and this is my outlet to share what I've learned, what I've struggled with, and what I continue to absorb because I believe that not only can it help myself, but it can help others who find themselves in similar situations. I'm also working to develop my vision in life and my purpose, which I've pretty much narrowed down to talking and writing shit and loving on people while getting paid for it. And this podcast is the way I'm going to hold myself accountable to that.
That's fucking dope. I love that. Your intro just keeps getting better and better.
I know, I know. I'm just
Your
kind of like,
intro? Yeah.
hey, I'm feeling it.
Oh.
I'm feeling it. It's becoming more and more me.
Yeah, I think that's my most favorite thing about us doing this podcast and keep like how we're like evolving as we go. Like I can just
Right.
feel us like growing with it. So that's dope. And I just want to shout out everybody that's listening and growing with us and watching us grow. We really appreciate you. We're gonna tell you what this episode is. It is episode 25, and the topic is what scares you? We'll get into a little bit more about that in just a bit. But before we do, we're going to get to our mess segment. And I'm going to ask Rena, what's the mess?
Well, the mess. What is the. I was just talking to you before this. The
Yeah.
mess is just, I realized that I'm going to have to like create my own job because I've been looking at these jobs, man, these career paths, and they're all horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do them. I could do them. I'm
Yeah.
qualified. I can do them. But it's like showing up every day and doing this. And maybe my issue is that I get into this. I have this thing about jobs.
Yeah.
I have this whole narrative. Like, I feel like I need to dig down job, what it
Oh,
is.
okay.
Because, like, when I think about it, I think about something that's fixed. And that's like long standing. And then I have like this weird, like, loyalty and resentment towards it at the same time because
Yeah.
my mom, she worked for the government for 40 years.
Mhm.
So like when I think of work, when I think of a job, I think of that and I'm like, that is not me. Like, I'm gonna give you 8 months, let me stack my coins, so not work for a little bit. But then that also feels like, am I taking advantage of them? I'm like, but they taking advantage of me.
Hi, Key.
So it's just like trying to reconcile like my authentic feelings about work. And it's just like, maybe I don't need to work for anybody. But then if I don't work for anybody, what the fuck will I do?
Right.
So if y'all want to cash at me for this,
Hi, Key. Hi, Key. If this could make us money, that would be excellent. Really excellent.
right?
Yeah,
I
for
mean, that's where I wanted to go. Like I said, talking and writing shit and loving on people and getting paid for it. Like this, I feel like is my lifeline right now. And I'm just trying to figure out how to expand that and how to create more and more out of that, create opportunities. Cause I be looking at these job listings and I'm like, why y'all using these words? Like it's gonna entice people. Like, you know? I'm just like,
yeah,
oh. I'm like protocol analysis. I'm like, who says that? Like, yup, that's it. Oh yes, that's it. That's what I wanted to do my whole life. Ugh, it's gross.
That do sound gross.
Right? As soon as I see shit like that, I'm like, next. Like, can we like swipe like left or right on these fucking
Literally.
shots for real? Like, no,
You find your match, bitch.
unattractive, right?
For that, because that sounds fucking fire.
Right,
Left, right to this bitch. This sound cool.
right.
This
When
cool
would you
as
like
hell.
to see to start? Like,
Really? High key.
coffee at the office at 9 a.m.? You know?
Right. Man.
So that's my mess.
That's a mess. I hope that you eventually do find the job that you want to create, and it is something spectacular and fabulous and very fulfilling and also lucrative
Very
because we live
lucrative.
in society. We need it to be lucrative.
I need my G-Wagon. It's going to be emerald green.
Wow.
Yes.
G-Wagon in the needs category? Wow. Okay.
And my cabin with my
Okay.
lake. In the
Okay.
back.
I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at it. What else get your needs met with the G-Wagon and the cabin by the lake?
In the condo.
Okay. This list just keeps going on and on and on. All right. Well, universe, take care of the girl. Take care.
Right.
Man, you got issues.
I do. And that's why I can't work for people.
I hear you.
So what about you? What's your mess? Because you're just with the mess. So come on.
Just with the
About to out mess me. Come on.
I mean, I don't know if it's an out mess, but this week was a little hard because it kind of goes into what we're going to talk about. But I just was disappointed in someone this week, and it really made me sad. It made me so sad because you have an expectation of people and they're showing you this is the type of person they are. You're vibing with them. You are enjoying who they appear to be. And then, out of nowhere, a conversation comes up or a thing happens or an event happens, whatever it is. It could be a variety of things, but something comes up and it really changes your whole understanding of who a person is or what their morals and values are and things like that. And it just doesn't feel good. It feels not great. And so the mess is that I was just disappointed in a person this week, and I'm trying to figure out because they're around often still. They're still around. It's not like I can just be done seeing this person. And so it's like really trying to like navigate how do I handle that? How do I deal with this disappointment? And how do I because I'm an adult. Like I'm learning and I'm working towards just facing things head on and taking a hold of it and saying, okay, this is a thing. And I actually spoke to this person yesterday and I was like, we need to talk. And so I'm setting it up so that we can have the conversation. So I can just explain like things are not what they were. I'm disappointed, and I don't know that it'll ever get back to that space. But here's where we are right now. So I'm just trying to take control of it and like not let it just really. I don't want it to create tension. I don't want it to create any like issues. But it just sucks. It really sucks to be disappointed in a person because like I don't really think anything about people until I get to I started getting to know people, and so I get to know you and I feel like this is okay, this is who you are, this is the type of person you are, and then you come in and you show me like something different and I'm just like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, I don't know, I think it was all very triggering and just yeah, that's my mess.
Sounds like they trampled on like a core value or moral. And that's why I just assume everybody's insane.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. No. But is that true though that you don't have any expectations or thoughts about anybody until you get to know them?
Is that true?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I have very loose things about people in general. I generally think people are good. That's like my basic basis. But that's my default. Not necessarily.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just not. I don't necessarily think everybody's like where I am as far as like my thought process and my morals, or like what's good or what's bad, what's, whatever. I don't necessarily think that. Um, but I guess I do kind of start off with people being good in my book. Like I think most people are, and that's just my opinion. I think most people are like good. Not to say we don't fuck up or have like fucked up thoughts or like, struggles, blah, blah, blah. But I think like the core basics of people are very good. So I guess that is my default when I'm meeting people.
So when disappointment happens, then what is the thought about that person?
Uh, it depends on what the disappointment is about. This one was a real strong one, and and because of that, I think that excuse all this madness. My phone went off. That was my alarm. It wasn't a call. It wasn't a call. Anyway, but I think depending on what the disappointment is, it's just now I don't think of you as a good person. And that was like my initial reaction. And I had to talk to myself about it because I'm like, that seems really fucked up. This person's very young and they have a lot of growing to do, blah, blah, blah. So I've tried to talk myself into like a different understanding. But like that was my initial reaction. Like, you are not a good person. Like, wow. That was like my initial like feeling after this, incident and conversation and things. So I was just like, I don't know. I'm still working on how to deal with things, as we'll get into. So I guess I don't know. That's my mess, and it's kind of going to lead into all of our topic today. Um, but I guess we can tell them. We tell them the title already?
We did, but before I let you go, because you're running away from this
Oh
mess.
my God!
You just put my foot in the door.
Okay.
When you settle down to have this conversation with this person, just try to be open.
Okay.
That's it. That's all.
Okay.
So
I can do that. I can work at that.
I think you could do that. You could be exactly work at that.
I could work at it. Because like in my past, I have been very black and white. If you disappoint me, I am done with you.
Sounds like it's a little bit in the present still, Just
No.
Okay.
No, because I have given chances to people more. I'm gonna give myself a little credit. People have disappointed me in more recent years, and it hasn't been an immediate thing. There are opportunities, chances to traverse this thing together. And if after those chances you are still where you are, then I'm going to leave you there where you are, It is still difficult though, because my initial reaction is like, fuck that shit and fuck them. So yeah. But I'm working at it.
I mean, I think it's good to be aware of it, and it seems like you are, and it seems like, you're planning it out. You're dealing with it.
I'm trying.
All right, so let's bring it back.
Oh, and Ashley was getting on me.
Wait, no.
Y'all hear how she do me? Literally.
You know what? It's
Mercury,
retrograde. I know, right? The thing is, I went and I thought I was turning my phone on silent after I had made the response to your phone alarm going off, and I set myself up because I actually turned my ringer on because it was already off.
That's really fucking hilarious. That's the people coming. The universe ain't having it.
Pretty much. It was like, you gonna pass judgment? Like, we gonna do this ASAP, right? I know, but the universe literally chose you over me.
Oh wow!
Damn, redheaded stepchild. Shit. That's why we be beefing.
Oh, you and me, or you and the universe?
Me and the universe.
That's why the universe chose me, because I don't be beefing with the universe. I be like, you got it.
Yeah, you be up the universe's ass.
Okay, I guess. End of our mess segment. We're gonna tell you guys. We already told you the topic, but we want to just give you an insight on why we chose this topic. And I'm going to release the floor to Rena so she can tell us.
Okay, so this topic, which is what scares you. We did this topic for our Halloween Zoom. Shout out to everybody who was present. It was
Yeah.
awesome. It was our second Zoom. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We digged it down this topic, and then we're just kind of redoing it now, make it clean for you guys. So it was Halloween then. It's not Halloween now, but the topic still applies.
Mm.
You know, what scares you? Because that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with fears. Um, we're dealing with traumas. We're just dealing with stuff that, yeah, that just scares us. So and I do believe that, like, on the other side of fear, it's like that pot of gold. It's like the
Yeah.
rainbow on the other side, or the money or whatever. For me, it's the money. So that's why this topic, because I wanna dig down what fear is and figure out how to deal with it and how to overcome it, and how, I mean, because fear isn't going away, but like, how can I navigate it and deal with it when it presents itself in my life or our lives, your
Yeah.
life, because
Yeah.
everybody's listening to this. So, like, just let's stick down fear, y'all.
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything?
I think basically the same for me. And I think this topic was a little, I felt like it was kind of an easy topic. We just kind of said it because of Halloween and things. But then once I got into it, I just realized, I was like, damn, sometimes that happens. We'll pick a topic and then it really, like, once I'm like digging it down, that shit starts to super resonate. And I'm like, whoa, got it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really glad that we chose this topic. And yeah, I'm ready to dig it down for everybody.
Yeah, it was really, for such a simple title, it was really an intense topic.
Mhm.
So I really vibe with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys the agenda, which is the DIC, always, which stands for define, impact, and cope, for those who do not know. So in this episode, we will provide our personal definitions of what it means to be scared of something, and name one thing we are scared of. Then we will discuss the impact of that thing we are scared of in our lives. And then lastly, we talk about how we cope with our thoughts and experiences around this scary thing. We also ask that, it's just a suggestion, but we make the sections clearly known. So if you want to follow along with us, feel free to pause, give yourself time to think about things, think about your responses, jot it down if necessary, and then, just press play and continue along with us.
Yeah, that was lovely. All right. Well, with that being said, we are now to the definition part. We are defining said scare or fear. So if you are new, you might not know, but everybody who's been here, they know that I love Google. So obviously, with the help of Google, I define scared, and that is it is a cause for great fear or nervousness. And actually, as I was looking up the word scared, scar came up because that is the root word of scared. And that actually got me, like, it got me thinking. But this topic actually turned out to be more difficult than I originally thought, like I just said, because it turns out I have a lot of fears and that I'm scared of a lot of shit. But one thing that kind of really stood out to me when I looked them over was my fear of disappointment. And then this took me back to the definition that brought up scar. And I think because I was disappointed so much as a child that it did scar me. It left a huge scar on my soul, on my spirit. And then that led to me like thinking like I do, or a lot of the things in my life being that the way that they are. I think my disappointments ranged from everything from like my mother's sickness to my parents' divorce to other children not being as kind as I was taught to be. I feel like it was just so very disappointing. It was like excruciatingly painful. And because of that, like I hate to be disappointed. And it is something that I have overcorrected in order to like avoid. So that is my definition of what I'm scared of, and of scared itself and what I'm scared of. So what about you, Rena? What is your definition?
Okay, so for me, to be scared of something means to be fearful. So I kind of already wove my definition into
Okay.
everything. My
Okay.
bad. Um, so for me, fear is like on the opposite side of the spectrum of love. So yeah, fear on one side and love on
Mm,
the other side. Um, so I guess for me, like when I think of that, I think I like to run towards love,
yeah.
and then like flee fear, like just
Mhm.
run away from fear. So when I think about that, for me, fear is what I run from.
Okay.
And then also, it's all about what I think. What I think is fearful, what I think is love. So it's my perception wrapped in there. So it's what I think will be fearful. That's what I'm going to run from. So something that I refuse to confront or deal with.
Okay.
Right. So I usually have really short definitions. So I'm doing this whole rambling thing and this whole like philosophical and spectrum and all of this. And that's because I'm running from this. Like I'm scared of this.
Wow, in real time.
Right, I know. So the thing I am scared of is hurting people by being myself. Which really is just a fear of getting hurt by not being accepted. So if I sum it all up, it's a fear of not being accepted for who I am authentically.
Okay.
Which is really interesting because in our one episode, my number one thing was I wanted to be wanted for who I am authentically. Yeah. So it's like that's the thing I'm afraid of, or I'm afraid of not having that, and I desperately want that. So it makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense. So overall, my fear is I'm afraid that I won't be accepted.
Okay, I feel like that's a really prevalent fear in a lot of people. And I mean, even in the most confident person, like, I think it is a fear that, like, what if who I really am is not good enough, or like people don't like it or vibe with me because I'm strange.
Right.
Yeah, that's wow. Okay. Well, then I guess that means that we are to the impact then. Was that all for your definition?
Yeah, we can go on and move on to the impact.
Okay. I think because of my great fear of disappointment, the impact is and was that I lessened my expectations of the world and people around me. And I think I always had an expectation of them falling short and disappointing me, while simultaneously expecting higher of people that I did choose to be in my life. So it's like, I expect shit of these people, but I don't expect shit from. And then I think it set me up for more failure and disappointment because human beings are fallible. And everyone, including myself, makes mistakes and stumbles along the way. So I think it was just like a self-fulfilling cycle. Excuse me. Because I'd expect like perfection. And then when that was impossible, I'd convince myself that I was right all along, and I would build new walls for people to traverse to get to me, leaving me feeling like less and less connected to human beings and people. And, I know, like, I've had to learn over time, and I'm still learning how to balance the notion that disappointment will come. Like, I don't really know how not to be disappointed. And I don't know a way to work through that. Like, maybe that's something else I'll have to dig down at another time. And I'm trying to know that disappointment will come, but to still try to be vulnerable with people so that I can still have that rewarding experience, because it is very rewarding to be vulnerable with another person, and them being able to hold that. And I think for a long time I had to sit and realize that the childhood trauma was what was affecting me in my current life. So like, if someone would say something and not keep their promise, that would make me think less of them. This goes back to the mess. That and then most often I would not want them in my life after that. Like, if you said something to me and you didn't keep your promise, I was done with you, because it very much was triggering. It very much was like,
because it hit that deep.
It hit that deep. I'm like, I don't like this space. I don't like being told things and then it doesn't come true. It doesn't come to pass.
You don't like the feeling.
I don't like the feeling. It feels, it's, and I think this goes to my other things that I've struggled with, which is like control and stuff. And it just goes to being so out of control. Like, I have no control over whether you do what you say, do what you promise, of whether my excitement, and I think that's the other thing too. I would be so excited about things. Like, I'm a very excitable person. If you know me in real life, I am very excitable. Like, I'd just be ready to be excited. Like, I'd be on the edge of excitement already.
Okay.
So then if you come and you tell me a thing that's like boosting that shit to the maximum, it's like I'm so far up with excitement that when it doesn't come through, I'm like, I crash. It's like a 30, 40 story building crash to the ground. And that shit it's painful. That shit fucking hurts. So I think because of all that, like the impact that I initially shut down, but I'm working on how to be vulnerable, even still. I'm still working on that. But that's the impact. That was the initial impact, is that I think I reserved getting that excited. And that's really what it was when I would reserve giving my vulnerability. I think it's reserving my excitement, reserving my expectations, reserving all these things. But then I live a very muted life, you know. It's not who I really am. It's not really what I want to be. I like being excitable. I like being like very excited about things. And so yeah, the impact is that it kind of like lessened my own life, thinking I'm lessening like my expectations of others, but it lessened my own enjoyment of life, I think. So yeah, that's the impact. Why are you looking like that?
Because you said so much,
Okay.
and it makes so much sense. So I get it. It's like when you really like someone,
Mm-hmm.
those are really the people who can disappoint you.
Exactly.
And like, and you get so excited to find somebody that you like
Mm-hmm.
and that you vibe with, and you want to like them, and you're like, okay, I'm going to go all in with you.
Yeah.
And, it's sometimes people are people, we're different.
Yeah.
And we have differences, and those differences can be disappointing. But
Oh
you're
my
like, I was
God.
up here with you, and then you just dropped me.
You dropped me. You dropped me to the ground. I'm shattered. I'm broken. Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
no,
a,
and I get it. It's hard because it's like flying up there is so great.
it is.
But then sometimes it feels safer. It's like, I'm gonna just stay here on the ground. I'm gonna do a little hop, but you're not really getting the full experience. You're not flying.
Right.
So you
Right.
have to decide, okay, but you be getting up from those 40 like story
Story
drops.
fall. Oh,
Yeah,
but
story
it hurt.
fall.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
yeah, it's that feeling.
Yeah.
It's I imagine the feeling is the same. It's just like the topic is different. So I'm going into my impact now. If you
Okay.
don't mind, are you
Oh, I am complete. Yeah. I'm
okay?
done.
So my impact, because of my fear of being myself
Mm.
and people not liking it,
Yeah.
is that I have a tendency to avoid myself.
Okay.
I also have a tendency to mute myself. It's interesting that you say that, like, you mute your excitement because you don't want to be disappointed. I'll just mute like my wants, my needs, my voice, because I don't want to disappoint people,
Yeah.
and I don't want that. Whatever that you are describing, I don't want that. I
Mhm.
don't want to drop people.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
right. And it's like, it's almost like borderline narcissistic thinking that I can drop people just
Mm.
by existing.
That's real
And,
shit. Wow.
right. So yeah, kind of coming back to the impact. Yeah, my thoughts, my feelings, like I just kind of just became numb. I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do, I'll do that. And I started to derive my pleasure from just giving to people and not necessarily receiving it, not receiving it at all. Um, because then I'd worry. I'm like, okay, what if they don't want to do that? What do they think of me if I want this? What would they think of me if I don't give them this?
Hmm.
So, and in a way that's really just shown up in my relationships. Like, people like to be around me, and like, who wouldn't be around somebody who's just willing to just give?
Yeah.
But it's also like when you're really around me, sometimes you'll realize, okay, communication isn't so clear. It's like, okay, she's really like non-committal to
Yeah.
things, really passive,
Yeah.
kind of like, well, whatever, what do you want? It's like, no, what do you want? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever you want type of person.
Yeah.
Confusion, low-key dishonesty or outright. Um, avoidance, internal invalidation. and lack of self-esteem. Like I just never really took the time to really look at myself. And I'm doing that now, but I can see the trend. It's like I really didn't know myself, and therefore everybody around me didn't know me.
Okay.
But like, it's interesting because it's like I felt like I knew them, and I don't know if I really consciously knew like just all the ways I had learned how to deflect.
Yeah.
Um, So, and then that would cause me to need to be around people or in constant communication with people because, like, I can't be alone with myself because it's like, what is that? Like,
Right.
who am I? I don't,
Yeah.
like, if I'm not of service to others,
Oof.
then what am I doing?
Yeah.
So, that's been the impact for me.
Whoa, that was like so much. I feel like that's a lot of people's like situations. And even when we hang out or when we have had conversations, I have noticed like a lot of like to just go with whatever you like. And I'm like, no. Um, this can be two head conversation, like whatever you like, whatever I like, we can find common ground. But that is really interesting to just acquiesce yourself to everyone around you. And I bet it is difficult to then find that you like yourself because like then you don't know who you are if there's no one like giving you input. Like you were waiting on those inputs to say, oh, okay, this is the thing that people like. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be okay with that. But like, and I think that the fear of not being liked authentically, it would really very much lessen once you go in and find out who you really are, because then you stand firm in that and you like it. And then whatever, I mean, and most of the time you're going to attract people that like it too because you like it. You know what I mean? And you'll be out here like, oh yeah, I fucks with it. Like literally, I am the weirdest person, and I collect weird people because I like that shit. Like I fucking like being weird, and I like the other weirdos that hang around me. So if you're listening and I hang around you, hello weirdo. But really, like, I think that's really incredible. I'm glad we dig this down. And I mean, you've kind of been saying some of these things over the past few, episodes. And I think it's dope that you're kind of getting to the space of like really wanting to look inside and like find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I was aware of how severe it was that like, and you brought up a really good point. You said like, if people are around you, like you don't really know who you are unless they kind of tell you. And I'm like, that is it. Like in a way I've built an identity based off of what people told me about me.
Oh my God.
Or what they liked about me. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm a good listener. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Listen to her. No. I do like listening to people, but I don't have to listen as long as I do. And sometimes I want to be listened to. Okay. So I often find myself in one-sided relationships because people would call me and, we chop it up and then it'd be a quick, how are you? And I'm like, oh, everything's good. Okay, well, girl, let me tell you, 2 hours on the phone and my life is in shambles, but you good. Right. And it's not your fault. It's that precedent that I set. Ooh. So I have been taking the time to kind of just be by myself and kind of just looking at things. It's been a long time coming. Like a lot of the things that I propped myself up on has just crumbled. Yeah. So now I really have to look and say, okay, do I want to keep this or not? Yeah. And a lot of people have fallen away, and I'm fine with that now. It's like, I'm getting used to that feeling, that sting, that, but I'm realizing it's like that discernment that, being authentically and seeing who sticks around, it's like the greatest like lie detector. It's just, and it's not that those people are liars or they're bad people, but why keep people around who aren't for you?
Yeah, really. Oh man, that's really dope. That's really dope. I'm really excited to see what that journey looks like for you. I think it's we're not really taught to value ourselves And we're in fact taught to devalue ourselves a lot of times. Especially, there's just so much conversation, and I've even talked to Rena about this. Just feeling like, is loving myself? Am I doing too much? Am I coming across as this way? Because I really fucks with myself.
She really fucks with herself. Like she loves her fucking self. Like hide your mirrors because she's gonna be in them.
Listen, I do, but we're not taught to value ourselves in that way. And so I've often asked, because I'm being more vulnerable with people that I'm close to, and I'm like, is this coming across this way? Because that's not who I am. But I've spent so long in a space not really taking care of myself and not really seeing myself. And now that I'm kind of like working towards seeing myself, like I really vibe with me. And I think I'm really just grateful for the strength that I have given to myself and the ability to start over again. So it's all these things that I'm really vibing with. And I'm kind of cute too. So it's like all of these things I'm like, I really like, but because of the way society tells you, like, kind of like, nah, you're doing too much. Oh, let me humble you. Like, why? Why do you have to humble me? Like, I'm not doing, I don't think I'm better than you because I like me. I just like me, like, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just hope I'm ready for Rena to get there. I be trying to encourage her to be in the mirror like me. I encourage you all to do it. Look at yourself, love yourself, jump back and kiss yourself. Oh, baby. But another thing you said though is about the being vulnerable with people and kind of letting them just go on and on for 2 hours. That was actually me for a long time. I think it was about the vulnerability and just being very private. And I don't know if I necessarily trust. And this is actually going into my cope. So I don't know if you were done, and I apologize if I'm taking over.
No, no, I mean, yeah, just lead us into the cope. We're coping now, everyone.
Okay, we are coping. This little segment, and then I'll get into my full cope. But I think I wasn't very vulnerable. And someone really important to me a while back was like, you don't talk to your friends about things. And I was
Good
like,
friend.
ooh, like it hit me because I value myself of being a good friend, but it's like, do y'all even know what's going on in my life? Like I'm struggling. And you would never know because I did the whole like, well, oh, I'm good. How are you? And they would go on and on because I've been the good listener. I'm that friend that they can just come and vent to, and I hold space for them. Meanwhile, I have no one that I'm allowing to hold space for me, which led to another world of things that we'll have to dig down at another time. But I think because of all this, I cope by being more vulnerable.
Mm.
Um, and I realize, or I have to realize, and I try to realize how I disappoint myself by putting impossibly high standards and expectations on other people. How not allowing people to be their authentic self puts pressure on them and then ultimately leaves me disappointed. I cope by being aware that my fear is leading the way and slowing down and breathing through it. I feel like, or I have felt like in the past, that vulnerability was just so icky. Like, it just made me very uncomfortable to think about. Because it was like, if I give you this piece of myself, and what if you drop it? If you drop it, it'll shatter and break, and I will never be able to put it back together again. That's how I feel or felt about vulnerability. But I think it's recognizing, like now it's just about recognizing my own strength, like recognizing that even if I do give you this piece of my vulnerability, it won't shatter. Like I've coded it in my own strength, and I won't fall apart. Like I'm strong enough to traverse whatever happens to me, and I will be okay regardless if anyone disappoints me or someone doesn't treat me well. I am strong enough to treat me well. I will be kind enough to me. I will be strong for me, but I can allow some help every now and then. I can allow vulnerability. I can give this piece of me to you, and it's not so fragile that I won't recover if it doesn't end or go towards a way that I'm hoping. And then I'm also learning how to deal with expectations, because I think that is the lead to disappointment, having expectations. So I'm also working on that. So that's really kind of how I cope. What about you? How are you coping out here?
Ah, man. I am coping by making the decision to get to know myself,
Mhm.
and to choose myself,
Yeah.
with the understanding that what's for me doesn't necessarily have to be for everybody.
Mm.
I'm trying to get out of that mindset of, I have to like what other people like, or they have to like what I like. And it's weird if I don't.
Yeah.
Because I'm realizing that like being weird is really for me, my personal definition.
Hmm.
It's just being an individual.
Yeah.
So yeah, just really sitting with myself and also writing through that feeling. That
Hmm.
feeling when it happens, because it's going to happen.
Hmm.
I'm going to hit that point where, you know, I disagree with someone or they disagree with me, and it could cause disappointment. Um, and that feeling creeps up. And I had to do that recently where I just kind of said, you know what? I'm gonna put a cap on how long I'm gonna sit here with this feeling. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna feed into it because it's really easy for me to ruminate and just kind of sit in it and replay it over and over and over again. And I think I'm getting to that point where I'm just like, okay, you have the rest of the day, and then after
Hmm.
that, we're moving on because
Yeah.
there's other things that are going to happen, and it's like, yeah, it stinks, it hurts, and
Yeah.
and it doesn't mean it's not going to creep up in my mind, but to entertain it is different.
Hmm.
And over time you realize the feeling fades. Like I remember, like we all remember that embarrassing thing we did, or that disappointing thing we did years ago, and if we
Right.
think about it now, sometimes we laugh.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel that the intensity of the feeling is not there, so I have to remind myself of that
Hmm.
with time, that feeling will fade. And I shouldn't be like living my life trying to avoid that feeling.
Right. Right.
Um, and then also tell myself it's okay. Like it's okay that this is what you want.
Hmm.
It's okay that they don't agree. It's
Yeah.
okay. Just repeating that it's okay, and the feeling
Yeah.
will subside.
Wow. That's really crazy. Crazy, but I was saying that's really incredible. Like, why are you looking like that?
Like that's really crazy.
Oh,
And I'm like, oh,
I
oh,
was trying
oh my
so hard.
god.
No, I was saying that's really incredible. Like, I don't know. I'm really glad we dig this topic down because I feel like we don't really talk about our fears. Like these are just things that are just sitting there in your heart, in your gut. Because I feel like that's what my fears are. Like when I'm disappointed, my gut is just like so heavy. Um, but I don't know. I'm really grateful that we did this topic, and I'm really proud of you for like coming to this place with yourself, and even like I think my favorite thing about doing these episodes is just realizing that nothing is like standard and nothing is like forever, and that we're having to like work on these things. So even though you are recognizing this and whatever, you still have to sit with yourself and like talk yourself through it. It's not just like a magic cure all where it's like, you know what, I dig down my fear and I am no longer afraid of that. It's
No.
like I'm gonna work through it and I'm gonna give myself tools to continue like chipping away at it so it's not such a heavy burden to like to carry alone and always and maybe not even just being aware of it. So that's dope. I'm really excited to see how you continue to grow with being your authentic self. And I just kind of want to do a recap. I think the recap is that my fear of disappointment and Rena's fear of disappointing is kind of it's very interesting. And I think we both are coming with grace. I think grace is really just the key in all this. And we say this all the time, but grace for myself, recognizing that people will disappoint me. I will learn another time and maybe another dick down session of how to work on being disappointed. But until then, when disappointment does inevitably come, working through understanding that I will be okay regardless. And Rena having the fear of disappointing others, recognizing that if she does disappoint someone, it will be okay and she can move on and she has the strength to go through and work through that. So I don't know. I think it's really incredible that we tend to do this. We tend to be on opposite ends, but also the same type of understanding. And it's very interesting. And it's so funny. Like we don't do these together. We don't come up with our understandings together. We do it separately. Then we bring them together. And most often we're in this kind of situation where we're opposite but the same. So it's really dope. That is the recap though. And do we want to do a shout out now, or do we want to do it after the meditation? What would you like to do?
Let's do it after the meditation.
Okay, perfect. So that means we are to my favorite part, and that is the meditation. If you're new, what we do is take a couple breaths, we set an intention, we take another couple breaths, and then we let you go about your day. So what I'd like you to do is take a big, deep breath with me. We'll take a second deep breath. Take one more deep breath. And now we're set our intentions. My intention is to recognize that disappointment is inevitable in my life, but that I am okay and I will be strong throughout it, and that I'm still going to have a great time and a good life. And whoever's doing the disappointment is not a bad person. That is my intention.
Okay, and my intention is to one day love myself as much as Jess loves herself. To not let any mirror that I pass not reflect my glorious image. No. No, my intention is to continue to get to know myself so that I have an understanding of what works for me, so that I can choose me no matter how hard it is.
Ooh, that's a really good one. All right, we're going to take our last set of breaths. Take another big, deep breath with me. We'll take a second deep breath. We'll take our last deep breath. All right, your intentions have been set for the day. Go out there and flourish, sis. Today doesn't have to be a mess.
But it's okay if it is.
So Liz, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in again. We really appreciate you guys continuing to support us, telling your friends, shouting us out. I wanted to shout out, oh my God, I don't know her Instagram name, but Bree, I know you're listening. I want to shout you out. Thank you for putting us in your stories. I want to thank everybody else for putting us in their stories, and telling your friends about us and continuing to listen. You have no idea how much it means to both Rena and myself. I am very grateful. I continue to be grateful and honored that you take your time to listen to us. And now I think we'll do a couple shout outs. Rena, do you have any shout outs?
Yeah, ditto to you. I want to shout out all these people who support us. And shout out to you, because your relationships with people, man, these people really come through. And shout out to my people too.
Literally.
Yes. Big shout out to Nat, because man,
she's been holding us down.
She really, really has. And it's amazing to see. I have so much love for you.
Yeah.
And shout out to everybody who listens. Man, y'all really be listening. Y'all be coming back.
Y'all really
y'all really like us, and we just be over here talking about our traumas and stuff. And y'all really be vibing with it, and I'm just like,
thank you.
Wow, somebody actually wants to listen to me. It's crazy.
Literally.
So
yeah, thank you. And I did want to do a couple shout outs. I do know there are a couple other people who have posted us. Honestly, Nay has posted us. Thank you so much. Chris Lyric has posted us. Thank you so much. I think it's ArtCQ, but I might be saying that wrong, but that's Bree.
That is it.
Is that it? Okay. And I just want to say,
oh, and Align Your Swag.
And Align Your Swag. Thank you guys for really just shouting us out and telling your people about us. It is every day. Our goal, I would just say this. I was hesitant to say it in case we don't reach it, but our goal is to be at 200 followers by the end of the year. And because of you guys posting us, we are slowly creeping up, making our way there. And so literally, I'm so excited. I am so grateful. I am so honored. Again, keep a lookout. We are still working our way to having merchandise. So be excited and be ready, because when it comes out, we want y'all to share that also. So we want to thank y'all again. And I think, is that everything then?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, well, we're going to catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.
It's a mess.
Hey, that's why I can't sing.
It's okay. He's going to talk over my singing though. Okay, it's ready now.